Do you know that I run into people who have churches? All right, and listen, all you folks who out there in your church that has a mortgage, you need to come up on the stage right now. All sorts of hands need to be raised because we're going to talk about how you can pay off the mortgage on your church in 5 to 7 years without extra giving from the members.
Hallelujah.
How in the world can we do that? So we don't have to do pledge cards anymore. We don't have to come in and put a big thermometer in the church and see how we can pay this off by sacrificial giving. There's nothing wrong with sacrificial giving. Don't get me wrong here, okay? But when we are giving sacrificially, but the bank is draining the coffers, what good is that? This is God's money we're talking about.
Wow.
And listen, what we're talking about, folks, is stewardship. Stewardship. Stewardship is not just tithing. Stewardship is understanding how money works. When you read the parable of the talents, there was a steward that took money that didn't understand it and buried the money in the ground. Didn't even bother to put it in the bank, doggone it. Didn't even bother to put it in the bank. So when understanding stewardship, we are compelled to understand how money works. So let me show you something. I know of a lot of churches that keep a reserve fund. Don't you? How about you, Kurt?
Yeah.
You know churches that have a reserve fund?
Yeah.
Okay. We got a $3 million church. We got it at 5%. We've got it at 25 years. That's 300 payments. Okay. Here is the payment on the church. That's $17,537. That is the payment on the church. They are making that payment. They're doing well. We got 3 million here. Okay. And here is the payment, $17,537.70. We have $2 million total interest that the bank wants on this loan. Okay. So a total repaid of $5,261,000. So here's something that we have in the church, so we're making this payment and now we're coming up with extra money to put on principal that we are asking the members to give. But I know people that are paying off and they have $100,000 or $200,000 in reserve. $100,000 or $200,000 in reserve. So listen, if I had $200,000 in reserve, could we take, and we know how much is going into the reserve fund each month. Okay. We know how, let's say we've got $5,000 out of regular giving that's going into the reserve fund at your church. Okay. Wow. $5,000 a month going in. All right. So that's just the regular money, but nobody wants to touch the reserve because they don't understand it. So we have a couple of $100,000 in reserve. So could we take out $50,000 out of the reserve, apply it to the mortgage, knock off 10 payments and save how much in interest? Kurt, how much in interest we're saving there?
That's $124,044.87.
Take it because we took $50,000 out of reserve. And this everybody said, well, we're draining our reserve. Well, how much is going into reserve each month, Kurt? 5,000.
5,000.
How long is it going to take to put that money back? 50,000.
You put it back very quick.
Yeah. $5,000 a month. Okay, that's about 10 months. We can put it back.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
Oh man,
listen to that.
I don't think I've ever seen that before, bro.
And then could we do it again?
Why not?
Oh yeah. So we would figure out, what we would do is figure out how much we have naturally coming in to the church reserve, figure out how much we can take out of the reserve, apply it to the mortgage out of regular giving. All right. And then we put it back naturally out of a natural amount that's going into the reserve. Once it's replaced, we would take the money out of reserve again and apply it to the mortgage. All these mortgages for these churches can be paid off in an average of 5 to 7 years, not 25 years. or not less years by overtaxing the members because we don't understand how mortgages work. The bank is taking too much of the church's money in interest.
Wow.
So when we cut off the interest, then the interest is no longer eating, and ever eating. That's in a famous book I read called Counsels on Stewardship. So here's what we're talking about. Let's go back to $350,000. I got a $350,000 mortgage here, folks, at 3%. Okay. And I want to avoid PMI. And so I want to put down 20%. Okay. 20%. Let me bring up my calculator here. Boom, 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 boom. I've got 350,000. All right. And so I'm going to multiply it by 20%. Boom, equals $70,000. So if I put $70,000 on this loan, I get to avoid PMI. Now, this is over and above the mandatory investment or down payment that is needed to get into this property. I want to put 70,000 additional dollars on this mortgage. So now we're going to take the 350,000, okay, and subtract 70,000. And that equals 280,000. So we have a new mortgage of 280,000. We're going to still do the same 3%. 280,000, 3%. Here's my new mortgage. Boom. All right. So when I compare these two mortgages, look at this. Put $70,000 down. I have no PMI. All right. My payment is $1,180.49 on this one. All right. Over here, I do have PMI. Right. And my payment is $1,659.74 because I didn't put the $70,000 down. So look at the difference. $1,659.74. That's the payment here. And that's about $500 difference. $1,180.49. That's the payment. Let's take a look at the overall interest cost on this loan. Right? It is $144,000 overall interest cost on this loan because I put the $70,000 down. But I didn't put the $70,000 down on this one. My interest cost is $147,000. Let's take a look at the difference. No, okay, 100. Wait a second. No, wait a second. 350. Oh, I'm sorry, that wasn't right because I need three. I got 360.
60. Yeah.
There you go. That didn't look right.
It looked right to me. So this is why you're in your seat.
Yeah, it didn't look right to me. Okay, so here's what we're talking about: $181,000 total interest cost and PMI versus $144,000 interest cost and no PMI. Okay, and the payment is $500 cheaper. So then, why am I recommending the $350,000 mortgage and pay PMI? Why am I recommending that? I recommend it because if I take this loan, first I'm going to ask Mr. and Mrs. Homebuyer, can you afford this payment of $1,475.61? Yes, we can. So why are you paying the $70,000? To avoid PMI. Okay. Well, if we take this loan, then Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, if we take this loan instead of the other one, where is your $70,000? And they say, it's still in the bank. I said, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, could you then make your first payment and add $70,000 to it? And they said, well, why, yes, we can.
Oh, wow.
So we take a look at the cumulative principal, and go down to $70,000. Oh, I'm still scrolling.
Wow.
84 payments. I haven't gotten there yet. All right. 84 payments, 96 payments. Haven't gotten there yet. There we go. $70,000 right about here. Boom. 70,000.
My
right in
goodness.
Here. 103 payments, knock off 8. Now, this is where we start this, okay? 96 payments. So here's what we've got. 5, 6, 7, 8.5 years, we knock off a 30-year loan by making a $70,000 prepayment instead of a $70,000 down payment.
Wow.
Never, ever, 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 ever make a large down payment on your house or your car. Take that money. Listen, do we have a sound effect like with cash registers or something? Listen, never ever do it. Don't do it. Make that a prepayment, not a down payment with the same money. So listen, even though, now here's the only problem. Remember, these folks started out paying PMI. Doggone it. They're going to have to pay PMI for 1 month. And then they're going to have to ask to have the PMI taken off because they're at the exact same place.
Yeah.
1 month later. So they had to pay 1 month worth of PMI to knock $81,000 off this loan and knock what did I say? 8.5 years off a 30-year mortgage, where this Mr. and Mrs. Homebuyer started here at $280,000 on a brand new 30-year mortgage starting from payment number 1.
Yeah.
So you can start here with your $70,000, or you can start here with your $70,000. Which would you rather? Here's what we're talking about. It's about cost. I'm on the highway, I pull off. There are 3 gas stations I like right at that exit. Which one do I choose, everybody? Which gas station do I choose if I got 3 that I like right there at the exit?
The cheapest.
By how much?
By a few pennies.
Exactly. Listen, if I start pumping that gas and I look across the street and it's a penny cheaper, just something happens to me. But I've got a 16-gallon tank. I'm getting all out of sorts. If it's a penny cheaper and I got a 16-gallon tank, that's $1. That's a penny per gallon. I'm getting all out of sorts for 16 cents. I know it matters because of buying gas and buying grapes. Folks, we are totally taught to ignore interest cost to our own detriment. Folks, it's time out for that. We have got to start paying attention to interest cost, save that interest cost using our current budget, and then take the money that we gladly put our name on the dotted line to pay, take that savings, and then invest it in our families. And people who are on a 9-to-5 job, by investing the money they would have paid in interest, can become millionaires on a 9-to-5 job.
So
What?
true.
What?
That's what I'm talking about.
Lord have mercy.
Man,
Listen, I got beads of sweat just because of that. We need to stop giving that money to the bank. Listen, and I'm not anti-bank. I love the bank because I got 4 mortgages. I just don't want to pay retail for my money. I like getting money at wholesale. How about you all?
wow.
But Don has some valuable information that can contribute to the quality of a person's life. And it only costs you a few dollars. It's his book. Why not get that?
I'm going to go through the P.I.L.L method myself with some of my investment properties. So I'm going to link up with Don, and then I'm going to sit down with him, show him my investment portfolio, and see how I can eliminate interest.